So I've recorded this already, but Dark Audacity annihilated the sound on export. So I'm recording this again, so apologies, you're not going to get the fire that I had the first time. So I want to begin by offering a trigger warning to people who like Discovery and like Strange New Worlds. You're not going to have fun in this video. If you cannot, like, if people who don't like Discovery don't like, if people saying that Discovery sucks and they hate New Trek, if that pisses you off, just go. Just stop the video right here. You're not going to have a good time here. Just go and watch something else and be happy. This is not a happy video. This is about the video. This is a video about the Star Trek episode that broke me. I have given every season of New Trek a fair shake. I've given all these series at least one chance to impress me, but of the live action shows, which we now have 3, I've given each season, to a certain point, within reason, a chance to hook me. I watched both seasons of Discovery. I watched the first 2 seasons of Discovery, and I tapped out in the 3rd season when it became abundantly clear that they had no idea what the fuck they were doing. They were blatantly ripping off Gene Roddenberry's Andromeda, and they were bookending canon, basically rendering everything, like, do you like Star Trek Online? Star Trek Online is pointless now. With some of the most hideous goddamn starship designs I've ever seen, with one of the most ugly uniform designs that I've ever seen. Basically, the future sucks. That's the message of New Trek. The future sucks. And I don't want to hear, before I go on, I do not want to hear this stupid argument that, well, you gotta, like, it's just the first season, you have to give it, like, you have to give it multiple seasons to find itself. It's just the first season. They want Star Trek year-round, and they want new Star Trek shows constantly. Like Secret Hideout wants this, because that means Secret Hideout gets to keep the license if they're just constantly producing new shows. Like an endless factory, you know? This is not Star Trek like we have one show, maybe 2, and we're going to focus on making those shows as good as we possibly can. This is Star Trek. That's prime rib Star Trek. That is choice Star Trek. What we have now is processed Star Trek. Okay? It's the baloney. And if you know how the baloney is made, it's not appetizing. But by the very nature of that means that we are going to be in an endless, revolving hell of early seasons of whatever the fuck they're producing. Endlessly. Okay? So that argument is invalid. Flat out. Alright? This is not their first season of Star Trek, especially in live action. Strange New Worlds is 4 seasons of Discovery have been aired at this point, 2 seasons of Picard. This is their 7th season of Star Trek in live action. Now, I sat through the clusterfuck that was season 2 of Picard. Against all reason, I gave Strange New Worlds a fair shake. Even then, I didn't watch Strange New Worlds in a vacuum, because Strange New Worlds airs at basically the same time as the Orville does. So I would watch the Orville as a palate cleanser, and Jesus Christ, the difference in quality between Strange New Worlds and the Orville, in terms of storytelling and writing, is stark. I'm sorry, but when you put these 2 shows next to each other, that's what I did throughout the entire season of Strange New Worlds, and it is night and day. Like, the Orville is measurably, demonstrably, noticeably better. It just is. Okay? look, I went into Strange New Worlds wanting to enjoy it, wanting to see a return to old school Star Trek, a return to a sci-fi Star Trek as an anthology show. There are a lot of dumb things in this show, and a few of them, and most of them I'm going to gloss over because they're not really relevant to what we're going to talk about here. But I do have to talk about one or two of them. Most of them revolve around Dr. Mbenga and his daughter. So Dr. Mbenga's daughter, Dr. Mbenga is to call him a supporting character from the original series even that is a stretch. Mbenga was a glorified cameo character, at most. I think over the course of all 3 seasons of the original series, he may have 5 minutes of screen time total. Like, he is not a major character by any stretch of the imagination. He is simply a resident on board who knows stuff about Vulcan medicine. That's it. That's it. That's his sole claim to fame aboard the Enterprise, is that he's the resident expert on Vulcan medicine and treatment. Which largely consists of bitch-slapping Spock. It is what it is. Those crazy Vulcans, am I right? But Mbenga was a character from the original series. He was subordinate to Leonard McCoy, who was a lieutenant commander. This is relevant. This is relevant. Because Mbenga is in Strange New Worlds as the Enterprise's chief medical officer 7 years before the original series, where he was subordinate to a lieutenant commander as a resident. Huh? So, right off the bat, Mbenga makes no sense being here. Let's start with the fact that Mbenga looks older than he does in the original series. Maybe it's the beard. It could be the beard, but like making him just sort of come off as older. But the way he carries himself, the way he talks, the way, the beard, the monster, that is, hey, it's a magnificent beard. I'll give him that. But he looks way older than he should be. Like, Mbenga should be 7 years younger than he is in the original series here. I don't get that at all. In fact, he's an old friend of Captain Pike's, I think. That's established in one episode. So yeah, first of all, Mbenga is way, way, way too old. He's way too old to be a resident under McCoy. I don't know what the fuck his rank is right now in Strange New Worlds, but I guarantee you he should outrank a lieutenant commander 7 years from now. So why isn't he in charge in the original series? I think what they're gonna do is that's his little brother or something. Watch! They're gonna make it so the Mbenga in the original series is not this Mbenga. It's try and come up with some kind of bullshit explanation as to why. Because Mbenga's presence here makes zero sense. It's not the only thing about him that makes no sense. So Mbenga has a daughter who's suffering from a terminal illness. It's basically a made-up space disease. She's suffering from space cancer. And so what he's done is he has suspended her in the emergency transporter in sickbay, which the Enterprise should not have. The Enterprise had one transporter room. That was it. I'll talk more about that in a second. He has suspended her pattern in the sickbay's transporter buffer so that he can use her as a lab rat, essentially, in devising a treatment for her space cancer. Now, it's been long established that humanity in the Star Trek setting had functional, damn near Ragnarok-proof cryotechnology as early as the 90s. Okay? We're and I know that doesn't jibe with the way history has unfolded in real life, but at this point Star Trek is a full-on alternate history. Okay? We didn't get the eugenics wars, and they keep trying to retrofit the eugenics wars onto World War III and whatnot. it's a full-on alternate history at this point. Like, there were no European brush wars, you know, like, what have you, leading up to the eugenics wars, leading up to World War III, or anything like that, so... Like, we are officially in an alternate history. And in this alternate history, it is established that humanity had incredibly effective, reliable cryogenic suspension. So, like, we find humans still in functioning cryopods in a satellite from Earth that has drifted into space from Earth in the first season of Next Generation. I think it's the Neutral Zone where they find these people. And some of these pods have failed. 2 or 300 years later. Quite a few of them managed to still be operational after that time. That is miraculous technology right there. And that was, like, we were supposed to have that, us, in this time period in Star Trek. Already. And Benga's in the 23rd century. You cannot tell me that we do not have even better, more sophisticated, more reliable cryotechnology that could completely arrest the progress of her disease while he is finding a cure for her, because every time he takes her out of that buffer to, like, spend time with her or read her a story, he's killing her by inches. He's burning her candle out little bit by bit by bit while he's doing this, effectively treating her as a lab rat and putting her in danger because he can't bear to be separated from her. He's doing this all for his benefit, essentially. He's being wildly irresponsible with his daughter's life. So, Mbenga is already A, an idiot, B, unethical, and C, nonsense. Why are you here, dude? So we're not off to a good start with this character. Now let's talk about that transporter buffer. Ships in Starfleet... Okay, the 23rd century is an era where transporters were still really gnarly and not unreliable, but prone to blowing out. This happens multiple times in the original series. In fact, there are multiple episodes of the original series in which the plot hinges on the transporter room, the sole transporter on the ship, not functioning. So, this is a problem that Discovery, and by extension Strange New Worlds, has. Where they basically pirate stuff from Next Generation and bring it into... Because in Next Generation, they can transport wherever the hell they please, because transporter technology has advanced. So they take the things from TNG and put them in the original series, and what that does is it makes it so that more and more of the original series that we're supposed to be, you know, making a prequel to, has to be amputated for Discovery and Strange New Worlds to fit. See the Gorn, for example, of having to rip out a lot of the TOS. Like, Arena cannot happen now because of what they've done with the Gorn. The episode that introduced the Gorn to the setting cannot happen now because of what they have done with the Gorn. It's careless, and it's thoughtless, and it's mercenary, the way that they are producing these shows. It is not, like, no care is being given to producing, producing a fine fillet of Star Trek. It is all, let's just take things from Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and the J.J. Abrams films, and throw them in, and grind them up, and process them into a Star Trek sausage. Processed bologna meat. That's what Secret Hideout Star Trek is, in a nutshell. It's processed Star Trek. So the transporter makes no sense. Okay? Beaming, like, it is a plot point in the original series that beaming from one place on a ship to another place on the same ship is tantamount to suicide. When Kirk suggests it, and I believe he only suggests it in season 3, is when this comes up. I think the episode is Court Martial. Like, Scotty immediately reacts like, you're a fucking lunatic. You're gonna get yourself killed. Like, Scotty thinks that it's too risky to be done. Of course, Scotty then does it because Scotty's awesome. Which brings us to the next problem with this, and this problem was with the use of the transporter. The use of this transporter is a reference, again, this is processed Star Trek, so we're throwing things from Next Generation into the ground meat here. In the episode Relics, Scotty is trapped on a ship, and the least that he and this other guy can expect rescue is like 70 years. So Scotty dreams up this amazing, like, seat of his pants, miraculous, life-saving idea of using the transporter to dematerialize themselves, store their patterns in the computer, and lock the computer into a diagnostic cycle so that it keeps refreshing the pattern, so it keeps their patterns fresh in the memory, essentially. It keeps their patterns from degrading for all the years and years that it's going to take for them to wait for rescue. So, eventually the Enterprise D shows up, but this brilliant, life-saving use of the transporter still only manages to save Scotty. The guy he went into the transporter with, Franklin, I think was his name, he dies. Like, his pattern degrades like 50%, like, he's gone. There's no way to resolve him. Even if you did try to resolve him, it would be like in the motion picture where, like, you would just, like, get this screaming pile of flesh that would die a horrible death immediately afterwards. So he's more merciful to just, like, wipe his pattern at that point. You know, it's less painful. Chief Engineer Geordi LaForge sees this and he's like, holy shit, that's brilliant. I've never seen a transporter used that way. Never. Strange New Worlds, over 100 years earlier. Here we have Mbenga stuffing his daughter into a pattern buffer. Scotty is not involved. It completely shits all over Scotty's character. It shits all over Relics. And it makes no fucking sense. Because apparently Mbenga can just do this? How many disciplines does Mbenga have? Because Scotty was known, like, had a lifelong career as an engineer. Became known as the miracle worker. He dreamed this up on the spur of the moment to try and save their lives, and it only worked 50%. It only saved his life, not the other guy who went in with him. So, what the fuck qualifications does Mbenga apparently have to make this work, so that he can just do it again and again and again with his daughter? You see, it makes no fucking sense. It shits all over Next Generation, but this is the Star Trek sausage. They don't care if it makes sense. Did Star Trek do it? Yes. Okay, grind it up, put it in the bowl, and we're going to start processing it here. But you had to understand all this, right? I had to go through all this just so you understand the setup for this episode and how bad this is about to get. So this episode was called The Elysian Kingdom. And it opens with Mbenga reading a book to his daughter. Now, this is like a fantasy. This book is called The Elysian Kingdom. It's got kings, queens, nations at war, and it ends on a very grim note, right? Grim fairy tale, like, esque note. His daughter doesn't like it, wishes that she could rewrite the ending. He has a little bit of a spat with her over it. Because he's really got to tuck her in to her pattern buffer so she doesn't die of this disease that he is endangering her from by doing this. Again, Mbenga's actions from the outset are indefensible. The way he's treating his daughter here. Indefensible. Okay? I can sympathize with him wanting to see his daughter, needing to see his daughter in some capacity, to keep moving himself, to, like, will himself to not give up on finding this cure. You know? Like, but what he's doing, somehow what he's doing with his daughter makes, like, Mr. Freeze look sane. You know, Mr. Freeze got, like, Nora Freeze in, like, the fish tank, you know, because she's, like, dying of, like, a, what was it, like, McGregor's or something? I don't know. And, like, he's got her, like, in a big fish tank to, like, put her in suspension and prolong her life while he, like, resorts to a life of crime to fund his research to find a cure. Like, what Mbenga is doing makes Freeze sound sane. Because at least his wife is suspended. She's not in danger. He's not shortening her life by inches every time he wants to check something, unlike what Mbenga is doing. So congratulations, Mbenga. The Rogues Gallery of Batman has more common sense than you do. Mbenga is exhausted. He tries testing a cure that he got in a previous episode, and it doesn't work, and he's pissed off and tired. And the first officer orders him to get some rest, and he's on his way to his quarters. The last thing that he and his daughter sort of fought about was she wanted to see his quarters. He's like, "No, you'll die if I take you out for too long." Then why the fuck do you keep taking her out, Doc? Why didn't you just put her in suspension? As soon as he gets to his quarters, he gets called to the bridge because they've hit a space wedgie, and the helm officer, whose name I can't fucking remember because she's barely a character on this show, takes a dive. She smacks her face on the helm console and takes a dive on the floor, and he's got to go treat her. Okay. And Mbenga makes his way to the turbo lift. So far, so good. He gets to the bridge, and all hell is broken loose by the time he arrives. Like, he's wearing kingly garments, and the bridge has been turned into a throne room. Like, this is the definition of a bottle show, by the way. This all takes place on the Enterprise's standing sets. If there's, like, bunting and, like, shrubberies and, like, whatnot all over the bridge, and everybody's decked out in, like, Ren Fair clothes, including Anson Mount as Pike. Pike has been turned into the biggest jobbing bitch this season. In fact, the final episode of the season is all about how Pike is such a jobbing bitch that the Romulans would immediately sense weakness and start a war if he were still in command of the Enterprise in Balance of Terror. That's a whole different conversation to have, because that sure as fuck ain't the Christopher Pike we were introduced to in The Cage. But at the very least, so he's having fun in this episode. In fact, Anson Mount is the best part of this episode. I'm going to say flat out. Because he is clearly having the time of his life playing a sniveling asshole. And, like, this super dodgy, cowardly courtier. Like, him and the character who plays La'an, actually. Or the actress who plays La'an. I don't know her name because I hate her character. She's basically, like La'an Noonien Singh. Remember, this is the Star Trek sausage, so, well, they had, like, Khan and Wrath of Khan and Space Seed. Put it in the mix. Grind it up. We have a Khan on the ship. You know, so, like she's usually, like, this, like, badass, no-nonsense type. Here, she's a punch clock damsel. Like, she behaves like a damsel in distress right up until the time when it is no longer appropriate for her to behave that way, or where she is no longer required to behave that way by, like, the rules of, like, aristocracy or whatnot. And as soon as she's free, she just kind of, lets her demeanor, like, slip, and she's just sort of, like, casual about it. I actually thought that was really funny. You know, it's it's what's expected of her, you know? Like, I thought that was good. So, of course, Mbenga starts running across the ship, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And runs into Hemmer, who is an Andorian chief engineer, is the only other good character on the show until they kill him off in the very next episode. And, he runs into Hemmer, who is not affected because he's an Anar Andorian, so he has, like, telepathy. Though for some reason Spock is affected, which you'd think would not be the case at all. But Spock is a bitch in this show. So, yeah. By the way, Anars from Enterprise. We're grinding the sausage. Just put it in the mix, grind it up, make the Star Trek bologna. So the rest of the episode basically consists of Mbenga and Hemmer running around the ship trying to figure out what the fuck is going on and how to stop it. Meanwhile, The Enterprise has been split into two factions who are at war with each other, remember that, who are, like, shooting each other with arrows, stabbing each other with swords, and beating the shit out of each other. So it is only a matter of time before bodies start dropping, okay? So, as ridiculous as the situation is, it's also super serious. And to cut to the chase here, they go to sickbay. They figure out that this is all following the children's book that Mbenga was reading to his daughter. And they figure out that that book revolved around a MacGuffin, like some sort of magical tchotchke. And Mbenga reasons that because his daughter wanted to change the ending of the book, his daughter has taken the place of the magical tchotchke. So they go to sickbay to bring her out of the pattern buffer, and she's gone. She's gone. Something else rematerialized. Something went in there and took her and rematerialized her. And so they're super frustrated, trying to figure out where she is, and Mbenga finally has a flash of inspiration. She went, she's in my quarters. She wanted to see my quarters earlier today. And so they run there, and they find her, all whole and healthy and smiling, and welcoming her father, and wanting to introduce her father to her new friend. Right up until this point, this episode has been all fun and games. So, those of you who are parents, I want you to think for a moment. Your child isn't where you left them. You go to check on your child and they're gone. So you frantically look for them. And you find them. And when you finally find them, it's in a bedroom with a new friend. This is Mbenga's quarters. This is his bedroom. This is how we're starting the scene. But that's okay, because it gets worse. From this point forward, the daughter, like, Mbenga scans his daughter and finds that she's completely cured. And that's great. That's miraculous. He's beside himself with joy, as he should be. But that's where we start running into a problem. Because they finally, Hemmer uses his telepathy to channel this entity so that they can talk to it. And they find out its motivations for doing this. This entity sees a kindred spirit in Mbenga's daughter, and is doing this, and is basically brainwashed the crew and set them against each other in a brutal war, just so it can get at his daughter. And Mbenga is like, well, congratulations, you helped my daughter, you cured her. Can't you put the rest of this back the way it was? The creature goes, no. It doesn't care. And Mbenga says, like, people are going to die if you don't put them back the way they were. The creature goes, that doesn't matter to me. Only your daughter matters to me. The creature then makes a deal with Mbenga. I will put everything back the way it was if you allow me to take your daughter. A strange entity, a stranger, walks into your place of business or your home or whatever, takes your daughter from where you left them into someplace private, and after spending hours frantically looking for your daughter, being afraid for them, you find them with the stranger, and the stranger tells you, your daughter belongs to me. Now, people are going to start dying on this ship. And they don't even need to kill each other to do it. Because everybody who knows how to work things on this ship no longer knows how to run the ship. They're all brainwashed. So, eventually the ship's just going to blow itself up because no one knows how to fix it. You know, like, something's going to happen. The ship's going to get attacked by someone. Now, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit Mbenga relents and allows this creature to make off with his daughter. And when it does, it vaporizes her, essentially. It outright says that it can vaporize her body and preserve her essence. So, even if the ship blows up and kills everyone, this creature's still going to get what it wants. All it has to do is wait. So it doesn't give two shits about the 430 people on this ship. Just his daughter. That's all it wants. That's all it cares about. Think about that for a moment. Because I guarantee, if you think about that for a moment, you will have thought about it for a moment longer than the writers of this show did. So Mbenga, this scene is full of emotional blackmail, by the way, towards Mbenga. He actually allows the creature to take his daughter. And it vaporizes her right in front of him, and she's like smiling and laughing as she like dissipates into a cloud of particles. And then, immediately after that, Mbenga sees a vision of his daughter as an adult, saying, "It's okay, Dad, you did the right thing." Now, I want to point out that everything we've seen of this creature up until now, it has the ability to manipulate people's minds. It has the ability to synthesize matter. It has the ability to create illusions. Everything we're seeing right now is complete like 90% chance, completely bullshit. This thing just ate his daughter, probably. You let me go. Now we're both free. You know, I named the entity. We're going off to party in space. And then she disappears, and nobody else on the ship remembers anything except for Mbenga. So this thing can fuck with memory. So already everything that we've seen is immediately called into question, because if this thing can mess with people's memories and make them remember or not remember whatever it wants, this could have all just been bullshit. And Mbenga's daughter just got kidnapped by a hostile entity. And we're supposed to act like this is some sort of bittersweet happy ending. That's the way that, the music wants us to feel like that. The writing wants us to feel like that. But this kid just got kidnapped. I was working. I had it on in the background. I have my monitor and my TV right next to each other. And I'm working in the background, looking at the TV every once in a while, listening. And once the scene in the Mbenga's quarter started, I just sort of, stopped what I was doing and just slowly turned around and just stared slack-jawed at the TV as what I was watching. I was so, at first I could not believe what was going on, was what I thought was going on. But it absolutely was. And I was just increasingly disgusted as the scene went on. And Mbenga's kid is probably dead. It's still, his kid got stolen by an alien entity, which proceeded to fucking absorb her or eat her or something. And we're supposed to be happy about this. I couldn't, after watching this episode, I couldn't help but, think back to all the episodes of Star Trek where kids were in danger, and the captain at the time took a hard stance in protecting them. Kirk, Picard, Sisko, Janeway, I think even Archer. Not sure, but I think so. All had that moment where, some alien was after some kid, and every one of them was like, oh, no. Oh, hell no. Even Picard, who hates kids until Inner Light, but don't ask the current writers of Picard to remember one of the most important episodes to his character. Picard gets, he's super uncomfortable around kids. And even he was like, oh, fuck no. On multiple occasions. One of the first episodes of the show, what was it, season 1, When the Bow Breaks, was about, somebody kidnapping a bunch of the Enterprise's children. And Picard is fucking enraged. He's ready to, fucking kick some ass. I think there's another one called, Imaginary Friend, which is almost exactly this situation with another kid where, like, some alien wants to, like, dote on a kid, and Picard is like, and wants to take them with him, and Picard is like, no. No, you cannot. Absolutely not. So this was fucking disturbing. And it actually, like, I could not, like, after watching this episode, no joke, I couldn't look at anything Star Trek related. I could watch the Orville, but, like, I couldn't, like, Starfleet Command, like, all the Activision games, I couldn't do that. I didn't have it in me to do that. I didn't log into Star Trek Online at all. I didn't, like, I basically noped out of the rest of the fucking season of Strange New Worlds. Fuck that show. Fuck it. It's done. Tapping out after Elysian Kingdom. That's as far as I go. I couldn't look at anything at Star Trek. I run a fucking Star Trek tabletop game on the weekends, and I had a hard, like, that was the one thing Star Trek related that I could at least work on. Let me go out, okay, let me go out right now and say that if I'm playing a Star Trek game, if I'm playing Star Trek Adventures and someone else is GMing, fair warning to you, if you try to give me, like, this kind of choice, bodies are gonna drop before I let some alien sumbitch make off with somebody's kid. Because that's what fucking Picard would do. That's what fucking Sisko would do. That's sure as fuck what Janeway would do. Could you imagine some, like, asshole entity trying to, like, kidnap a bunch of children on Janeway's watch? Can you imagine the number of dead bodies from those aliens that would just be littering once Janeway was done? Okay, Janeway already considers her crew her adult children. Can you imagine what, like, she would do to, like, some alien asshole, like, some dick cosmic entity that decided to mess with actual children? Blood, death, and destruction. That's what would happen. So, yeah. That's why it's taken so long to get any, like, of the Activision stuff recorded. Or that's why it's taken so long to get back to Star Trek Online. Because I could not bring myself to look at anything Star Trek related for a while. I just couldn't. But time and a lot of episodes of The Orville have not changed my opinion on Strange New Worlds. That show can you can go burn its shit for all I care. I'm never watching Strange New Worlds ever again. But I can now bring myself to, like, play these games again, basically. Because they're good. And good Star Trek needs to be remembered. We need to remember that Star Trek was once better than the processed sludge that we're getting nowadays. These games will be remembered long after all of this crap is forgotten. As it should be. When you go to a Star Trek convention, and you go see, for example, a screening of the episode Best of Both Worlds, or Measure of a Man, or The Doomsday Device, or Doomsday Machine, or, like, Operation Annihilate. You see kids with their parents, with their parents' parents, with their great-grandparents, all these generations of people sitting down together enjoying something. I cannot see any of these new Trek shows possessing that same timeless quality about them. They will not age well. Fuck Strange New Worlds. Never again. I'm out. I'm more willing. I sat through season 2 of Picard, the god-awful season that it was, the deeply offensive shit dreck that season was, and I am more willing to give season 3 a chance than I am to sit through one more season of Strange New Worlds after that one episode. Fuck this show. I'll see you guys later.